Well, I finally got invited to Sundance Film Festival. My first reaction was, who cares? Then anger, then sadness, and then I was like, is it even still relevant, the Sundance Film Festival? Now, here's why I got angry. Because I was going there the wrong way. I got invited as a content creator. About the same time I got the invitation via email, there was also learning that David Lynch had died, and I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty interesting, because I'm sure he would go to the Sundance Film Festival because he's a welcomed, honored guest and appreciated artist. Whether you understand his films, whether you like him or not, he would have gone there with a film, not as a content creator, even though he's been making content, just in a different form, because what is content creation anyway? Then I felt sadness, because I was like, oh, I haven't made a movie worth seeing, or I haven't made a movie that I would want to bring to the Sundance Film Festival anyway. Then I was like, yeah, but is the Sundance Film Festival the place that you even bring movies to? Is it relevant? And then I was like, oh, it would be interesting to make a movie about whether or not people found the Sundance Film Festival still relevant to either movie watching, movie going, movie producing, or movie making, right? Anyway, so that was my train of thoughts on that particular day when I got the email and when I found that David Lynch was dead. I was like, oh yeah, is sadness, relevancy, anger, who cares? That was generally it. But then I was like, oh, American Movie, Go, and the Blair Witch Project all came out at Sundance in '99. That was interesting. I didn't realize those movies that I love and appreciate all premiered or were at least all screened at the same year. 1999. That was a great year for the Sundance Film Festival, apparently.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers podcast.
Look it up. I'm not making that part up. Home video headlines. What's going on in the broader world of streaming, DVDs that still exist, movies, and TV, if such a thing could exist in 2025. Where are we at? Home video headlines. As I said, David Lynch, he passed away, so good journey to you, David Lynch. Good journey. Here's some of my favorite Lynch movies. You got Wild at Heart, the original Dune. I'm actually more fascinated. Fascinated? Is that a word? Fascinated? No, I'm actually trying to say fascinated. I'm actually more fascinated by him as a person than I am as him as a filmmaker. We also lost the woman who taught Kevin Bacon and Chris Penn to loosen their feet so they could get Footloose in Footloose. The cinematographer of Footloose has passed away here. I think her name was Lynn Taylor-Corbett. While promoting this movie called Back in Action, Hollywood Reporter says that Cameron Diaz would return for a Mask 2 if Jim Carrey did. Meanwhile, there's more layoffs at movie theaters. I was sitting here thinking, people would probably flock in for a Mask 2. I think they would. I mean, that's like a tentpole bargain for these studios, right? We see them, betting down or double downing on their bets with these big IPs to lure in ticket buyers. So maybe 50-50, there's a shot. Jim's having, a popularity spike right now because of the Dr. Robotnik live-action stuff he's doing in the Sonic movies. He's giving us, pink 1990s Jim Carrey, but in the 2000s here, or the later 2000s, or the first quarter 2000s. I don't know what you call this time that we're in now. So maybe there's a shot if there's a Mask 2. Well, actually, there's 4 masks, because there's 2 Jamie Kennedy ones. I don't know if those are canon. I don't know. They were direct sequels to the original Mask. I don't know if those count still. Anyway, it would be great if, the 2 masks went at each other. Oh, actually, there was another mask. What was that? What is that other actor's name? It's funny, I can't think of his first name, but I can think of his last name. There's another actor whose last name is Cummings, and I think he actually played the mask as well, or was he Loki who gave him the mask? Because the mask is Norse mythology. So also with the popularity of the Marvel movies and the Loki branding, if they branded Loki for the mask with Jim Carrey, I just think, yeah, that's like a marketing win right there. I don't know. We'll move on. I can't think of the guy's first name, and it's not Jim because that's the filmmaker who made a werewolf movie I like that I can't think of what it's called right now. I almost said it's In the Time of the Wolf, but that's not right. Anyway, there's a pretty good filmmaker. His name is Jim Cummings, but he makes a series of different movies, uh, not freaking not anything that we're talking about. I wasn't prepared to talk about him. See what happens when you get on a tangent and you don't stick to the game plan? You get lost, and then you bring down the content. Let's bring it back up. Okay, I promise. All right. Tonight's movie is called Candy Mountain. It's about a struggling musician who sets out to find the legendary guitar maker Elmore Silk, with whom he hopes he can strike a deal to also make himself rich and famous. There's a rocker obsessed with rare guitars, played by David Johansen, you might know from the New York Dolls, or the Ghost of Christmas Past in the movie Scrooged. The Ghostbusters mayor makes an appearance as an attorney. I think the actor's name is David Marquez. He shows up in this movie. He's one of the rock and roll executives. Laurie Metcalf is in it, playing like the daughter of the elusive guitar maker. And, if I don't butcher her name, Tantu Cardinal. You've probably seen her as recently as in American Primeval, but she's in Dances with Wolves. For sure. I mean, what's interesting about this movie, she's just playing like a modern woman with some everyday issues in this one, so it's cool to see her just playing a regular character. Tom Waits, the raconteur, the musician himself, he's like a real character in real life, you know. If we're talking about characters like David Lynch, talk about characters who just carry themselves a certain way and they're bigger than the characters on screen, that's Tom Waits. Like, his parts in movies are usually toned down compared to his real life rock attitude, you know? Or more jazzy, bluesy, I don't know. He's kind of a mercurial figure in real life. He plays the missing guitar maker's brother. Anyway, these characters, these supporting characters, are mostly clues along the way to finding the guitar maker. It's a better way to put it. But the main character, he's one of those charmed character actors that appears in all these movies, and we recognize him, but we don't really know him by name. Like, if you remember him as Benny from The Mummy, or Joey from Deep Rising, he usually plays scoundrels or ruffians. His name in real life, I guess, is Kevin O.J. Connor. Kevin O.J.? Kevin J. O'Connor? Kevin J. O'Connor. Not O.J. Kevin O'Connor. Anyway, Harris Yulin plays the music guitar maker. Guess what? He was the judge in Ghostbusters, another Ghostbusters connection. In part 2, you know, the infamous judge that gets so angry he summons these two killers that he executed, and they stalk or haunt the courtroom. Anyway, the filmmaker is Robert Frank. He's a famous photographer who compiled a bunch of black and white photos, across the country in the 50s, and it's called The Americans Book. Let's see. The writer, Rudy Wurlitzer, he wrote Two-Lane Blacktop and Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. All right, we'll be right back with our favorite bits from Candy Mountain right after these messages. Secret Level is a new animated anthology series featuring original stories set within worlds of some of the world's most beloved video games like Mega Man and Warhammer 40K. From the creative minds behind Love, Death, and Robots, each of the 15 episodes is a celebration of games and gamers. Watch with Prime. Start your 30-day free trial. Grab the link in our show notes. A new hero emerges in Gladiator 2. Years after the death of Maximus Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum after his home is conquered. With rage in his heart and the future of the Empire at stake, Lucius must look past his past to find strength and honor to return to the glory of Rome to its people. Stream the new Gladiator 2 movie on Paramount Plus. They're one of our affiliates. I think you can probably grab the link on the video tabs or in the show notes, whatever, in the description. It's probably somewhere on the blog website as well. All right. Now back to our favorite bits from Candy Mountain. I love that Candy Mountain is a metaphor for dating. It's brought up by one of the supporting characters early on in the film. Something to consider. Kevin J. O'Connor in a lead role. Yeah, like I said earlier. It's great to see Kevin really strutting stuff in this movie. A young 10-2 Cardinal. Yum, yum. She's freaking hot. I mean, she's like in her 70s or 80s. She's still hot. She was banging hot in this movie. She's stalking and hunting a deer in the middle of the night with the main character. You would hoping for a hookup, but he's got his crushing on somebody else in the movie. But there was sexual tension during that scene, so there you go. Live it up, folks. Pay attention to that when it comes up in the movie. Sizzling. All right. I feel like this is a captivating movie. I'm having a hard time enunciating on this episode. I'm adding M's where there's N's and P's where there's Q's and mixing up J's and O's. I find the movie captivating, is what I'm trying to say. I kept watching it from like room to room and device to device. There were a lot of distractions while I was watching it, so I just kept transferring the movie from my phone to the TV over here to that TV. God bless having more than one television, more than one device represent. I was surprised that I accidentally discovered this movie. This movie came out like in 87. It's called Candy Mountain. You think the title alone would be out there. People are like, have you heard about Candy Mountain? No. It's like a miss. Blink and you miss it. It's gone. And, anyway, I was happy to discover it. I was like, to be honest with you, like a lot of people dog streamers, especially in movie podcasts, are like, this streamer sucks or that streamer sucks or the library sucks. You can't find anything. I was on a streamer. I'm not going to advertise which one. I will stop right there. But if it hadn't been recommended to me, would I even know that this movie exists? I'm not sure. That's a mind-boggling question that's going to wake me up in the middle of the night. Very stressful question. Because I'm an advocate for physical media. I believe we should stack these DVDs. We should chronicle all the VHSs. We should back everything up digitally and physically. We should have it library repository of stuff that's been made to be seen and discovered later. And discovering this on a streamer, I was like, holy shit. All right, our rating system. We have a very funny, unique rating system on this show. If you've ever heard me rambling before, we do binge now, binge later, binge never. Basically, get to it right away. Get to it later. It doesn't have to be the top of your list, or don't waste your time. You can't get the 2 hours of your life back. It's toxic. Okay, so where does this lie? Binge now, binge never, binge later. This is a binge now. Like I had recently said that I was like done and had reviewed all the films that I cared to review on this show. So the bar is extremely high for me to get my fix in 2025 to find anything for films to watch or to say or to do. So this hit all the categories for me. It fit that need. It's like, I can't even explain the movie that I'm searching for. I've seen so many movies, right? And I'm not just trying to get a movie to make me react to it, right? Which is that's the goal. Get somebody to react to anything that you're making. But it's like, there's just, sometimes it's a comedy, sometimes it's a drama, sometimes it's a horror movie, sometimes it's an independent, sometimes it's a big studio movie. Somewhere in between is this certain energy. That's why I call it a fix. It's almost like a drug addict thing. It's like, you want the spoon to be filled a certain way. You know what I mean? You want it to cook off a certain way, baby. And so you're looking for these certain movies, and you can't always find them, and you're always constantly questing for it. Like, if you were an avid reader, and there was a certain type of book that you loved, and you could find this, maybe you liked just the rhythm and tone of a certain writer, and you're like, man, I wish there's only 2 or 3 books like this, and I'm always constantly questing reading 100 books, and I can only find that tone in 2 or 3. And so you go back to that same writer, like let's say it's David Gemmell, who's like a pulpy fantasy writer, maybe Sword in the Storm. You're like, I'm always going back to Sword in the Storm, because this tone can't be replicated, or it can't be found. I got to get my fix on. So what is an example of this movie? Another Round. Another Round is like one of my favorite movies of all time now, and that was made within the last 10 years, and it just fits a certain checkbox. Or if you have a list of like this, they're like, why don't you just tell us what the criteria is and not just say you're making up a criteria? It's like an innate feeling, man. I can't even describe it to you. It's like listening to a good song for the first time and then always wanting to find that song again. You know, that's the way it is. I'm out of metaphors. Sorry, let me take a drink of this and figure out if I can come up with another story to tell you. Okay, home cooking. Let's say you grew up eating a certain apple pie and you're like, no other apple pies. I don't know what they're, these store brand apple pies with just the goo. Is it a Macintosh apple? Is it filled with a Fiji apple? Are you baking the crust first? Are you adding the crust? You know what I mean? There's like a certain combination of things that just become the thing that you love and you want to replicate it, right? What? We're too romantic, too nostalgic. Is that what it is? All right. Fan service. Are the fans chiming in? What are they saying? Oh, recently, friends and family were making fun of a portrait of me that resembles Jack Nicholson. It's like an AI picture, and I resemble him in looks and notoriety. So I just keep spamming them with the chicken salad scene from the Five Easy Pieces movie. Like, that's my default answer when they say that I look or mimic Jack Nicholson in a way. I'm not trying to take credit for anything that he is or his existence and the legend that he is. I'm just simply saying, when they make that reference online, I'm going to hit them back with a video clip involving chicken salad from Five Easy Pieces, which to me is probably the unsung but greatest movie in Jack Nicholson's lineup. He's done a lot of great shit. Don't get me wrong, but I like that movie a lot. That also inspired me to answer text messages. I feel like moving forward, I want to just hit everybody with the same answer. Doesn't matter what they're saying in the text message. I want to give the one reply. I want to send them a little picture of the leprechaun riding the tricycle in the movie Leprechaun. And it's everything, all moods. They're like, is it raining there? Here's a picture of a leprechaun on a bicycle. How are you today? Here's a picture of a leprechaun on a bicycle. Did you get that report for the office? Here's a picture of a leprechaun on a bicycle. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be the end-all, be-all text message, even if it's like, oh man, your kid broke his leg. Here's a picture of a leprechaun on a bicycle. All right. I should read some YouTube comments as well, but I think I want to save them for the next episode, except I will say that an old long-time support of the show, a fan of the show for a while, Rennie, had mentioned, oh yeah, there is a lot of trench coat movies from the 80s. Every movie was required to have a trench coat. And then he brought up some of them that I hadn't even thought of the other day. What am I talking about? We were talking about a movie called Dark Angel, or if you caught the VHS or the home video release, or you see it on the streamers or whatever, it might be called I Come in Peace, right? It's a Dolph Lundgren 80s actioner with aliens, but the aliens have, obviously wearing trench coats. And so he had mentioned some other movies. You know what? I turned my phone off. I was going to pull up the list for you, but, I'll do it later. We'll have to redo the comment section. Yeah, so that's that. So if somebody's giving you grief, you can hit him back with a leprechaun on a tricycle. It's a meme, so just go look up the image of the leprechaun. Sorry, I digress to say that he found other movies with the trench coats and I don't have the list prepared. Hold on. Let me see if my phone turned back on. And then I can just jump into YouTube and see what the comments were. Come on. Load, baby, load. Stall for time. Let's see. Okay, come on. Of course, now it's not going to pop up, right? I've been looking at it all day. And then, of course not, right now, right? All right, here we go. All right. Dang it. No, it's not going to be there, right? You punk. I got it. So, what was it back in the day with the trench coats in general? He wrote the Corys, Fright Night, Data in the Goonies, Bender and Breakfast Club. Pretty sure that at least one character in every 80s movie was required to wear a trench coat. So I'm not wrong. It is happening. Other people are noticing it. The audience has found it as well. Okay. Moving on to staff picks. There's another recommendation. If you don't like the movie of the week, you're like, forget about Candy Mountain. I'm never climbing it. I'm never watching that thing. I don't care about the metaphors. I don't care about dating. I don't care about a guitar player so legendary that rockers are trying to find these the guitars, the axes that they consider magical in this movie. Forget it. I did see The Substance. It's like extremely stimulating and revolting at the same time. It makes you want to like have sex, eat a lot of food, and get sick at the same time. It kind of turns into Dead Alive at one point in terms of blood and gore and tone. Like it does some interesting stuff with style and camera choices and editing that kind of shape the story. And the movie definitely requires Demi Moore for sure. It's a binge now. I also watched American Primeval. Again, it's got Taylor Kitsch, who's like the best actor in doomed productions. Like he's always the best in the worst shit. And it also makes Mormons look bad. That's American Primeval. It's like on Netflix or whatever. Oh, usually, okay, we're coming about closing. And usually like the preview next week or what's upcoming on the show. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm trying to hide like a secret professionalism hidden in like avant-garde, amateurish approach, outsider art stuff. But everything that I do is very intentional and planned. I don't know if anybody gets that joke, but it is. However, for this year, there's no map for this year, which is becoming real. Like, I have an aunt and uncle. They used to say, like, it's not about the journey. Oh, no. They used to say, it's about the journey, not the destination. They're always like, it's about the journey, not the destination. For me, it's the other way around. I think it's about the destination. Otherwise, stay home. Right? Can you follow that logic, that metaphor, changing up their idealistic thing where it's like, you've had to have heard this phrase. You've had to have heard this phrase. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. Well, I'm like, no. It's about the destination because where are you going and why are you taking the journey? That's my strategy on that, or my feelings on that one. All right. Listen. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. You want me to take that a little bit further? It's last call at the rodeo. The show is over. All right?